Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Muley OPD. This is take two. There's a lot of information in this one, so I'm gonna keep it moving quick. Here is a recap of our focus areas and desired qualities for the year. Hit pause if you need to read them again. All right, for May, enlisted perspectives. We're going to look to increase our awareness and empathy by gaining a greater understanding of the enlisted force, who the E's comprise about 2/3 of our squadron. Um, so, as officers, I think as pilots especially, we have a weak spot when it comes to understanding the ins and outs of the enlisted careers, and our lack of understanding can be manifested by indifference because we don't know how to help or even what questions to ask. And I'll put it out there that I think sometimes we can be a little overly deferential to our NCOICs and shop chiefs and RMs due to lack of knowledge, and this can lead to us being unaware of what's happening in our own shops and can diminish our effectiveness. Even in the aircraft, we might be reluctant to engage a student and instead defer to their instructor, hoping they'll catch everything. I think we can do better. This OPD series is not going to solve everything, but will hopefully give us a little perspective and a little more knowledge on how to better train, equip, manage, and lead our enlisted troops, which will boost trust, accountability, and effectiveness. So here's what we're going to look at for the month. I'm going to rely on our Thursday speakers for a lot of the heavy lifting because I'm not an expert in this field. And for you guys, think about questions ahead of time, to engage our seniors, engage some of the instructors I'm going to bring in and talk to us and really get to know their perspective. Here's a plug for the book of the month. It's Not What You Think, Starship Troopers. Don't judge a book by its movie. A lot of discussion on philosophical and moral issues. Parallels the Cold War. It's not really plot driven, it's a discussion of ideas, and a big recurring theme is the role of the military in society. It's on the Marine Corps Commandant's reading list. You should go to the Marine Corps Research Library. There's a great assortment of books broken out in different levels, from entry to primary, career, intermediate, and senior, from the recruit all the way up to the GO level. This book's an entry level selection, but I thought it would be fun, relatively fast read, and not overburden those of us who try to cram in a lot of GK these days. All right, so what we're going to do for this first OPD, it's going to be a little dry, but I'm going to try to keep it exciting. We're going to break down the 36-26-18, which is the enlisted force structure. So we don't know a ton about our enlisted squadron mates, their careers, and managing and mentoring their careers. This OPD is not going to solve that problem. What we want to do is boil down this reg, and then our Thursday speakers can hopefully give us some practical application for the overarching guidance. So we want to bridge the gap between our understanding and how we interact with our enlisted personnel. Our great unifier in the squadron is operating in the jet. Just think how awesome it is when the crew's clicking and we're solving problems. But then on the downtime, it gets a little awkward talking about, careers or progression or office work, because we seem to operate in parallel a lot without a lot of overlap. So simply knowing some basic information can help us gain a foothold for knowledge, which will lead to understanding, empathy, empowerment, advocacy, mentorship, and leadership. All right, so chapters 1 and 2 of the enlisted force structure. So this reg, as the intro here, provides a general framework for the enlisted force structure to meet mission requirements and develop institutional and occupational competencies. It defines leadership levels, tiers, ranks, roles, terms of address, general responsibilities, duty titles, and special positions for the enlisted force. It provides a framework for supervisors, and this is the important part, as they set standards during initial feedback, midterm feedback, and documenting their performance on reports. So that last bullet there, it defines expectations that performance will be measured against. Chapter 2 goes on to speak about the importance of tactical expertise, operational competence, and strategic vision. All right, chapter 3. This is where we get into the tiers. So they have different tiers, just like we do with CGO, FGO, GO. They correlate to increased levels of education and training and experience. Each tier builds on the previous, having mastered those. The primary goal in each tier is mission accomplishment. As I run through a quick summary, you'll hear words and you'll see how the responsibilities grow along with expectations over time. So your junior enlisted tier, Airman Basic, Airman, A1C, Senior Airman, beginning with BMT, this is where they learn to adapt to the military, where they gain proficiency and they learn how to be productive members. They prepare for increased responsibility. This is where they get trained, qualified, and ready to operate. Typically earn their 5 level as an A1C, and Senior Airmen can serve as frontline supervisors once they complete ALS. Your NCO tier, Staff Sergeant, Tech Sergeant, these are your technical experts. Occupational growth, expert technician, and they develop as leaders, supervisors, managers, and mentors. They're responsible for themselves and now their subordinates, training and qualifying. Typically, they earn their 7 level as a Staff Sergeant, and they learn to manage resources and develop people. They have to complete NCO Academy prior to making Master Sergeant. Your senior NCO tier, that's your Master Sergeant, Senior Master Sergeant, and Chief Master Sergeant. There's a tremendous increase in responsibility heading into this tier. This is where they serve as leaders. They advise, supervise, and mentor others, leveraging resources and personnel, transitioning from frontline supervisors to operational leaders. So not just manage their people, but managing teams and teams of teams and other organizations. As a senior, typically that's where the 9 skill level is earned and an associate's degree is required to make senior. Chiefs hold positions from the squadron up to joint organizations. So through all levels, mentoring and developing enlisted personnel and strongly influencing CGOs. So responsibilities. There's a ton of responsibilities in this chapter. I'm just going to hit on a few. Basically, this chapter tells us that supervisors of enlisted members need to ensure they comply with standards and correct them when they deviate. But obviously, to do that, we need to know what they are. So a lot of the bigger points, your junior enlisted responsibilities, your basic, embody the core values, be professional, military bearing, dress and appearance, respect for authority. There's some interesting ones in there. Stay informed on issues affecting the Air Force through media sources. Use social media responsibly. Enthusiastically support, explain, and promote leaders' decisions. Continue personal and professional growth and education. The NCO responsibilities, on top of all the junior enlisted ones, some highlights here. Stay professionally engaged with subordinates on a daily basis, both on and off duty. Understand subordinates' environment by visiting their living spaces and installation support facilities. Provide feedback and counseling on subordinates' performance, career opportunities, promotions, benefits, and entitlements. And then your senior NCOs, all those duties, responsibilities for NCOs and junior enlisted, plus epitomize excellence, professionalism, pride, and competence, serve as a role model for airmen to emulate, translating leaders' directions so their teams can understand and execute, being an active, visible leader, mentoring NCOs and CGOs, promoting responsible behavior. This reg says senior NCOs have a special obligation and responsibility to ensure the Air Force retains a climate of culture, dignity, and respect. So there's your responsibilities. That's a lot. So we're going to take a break. Word from our sponsor, Scenarios Pizza. Colonel Trumbull put me onto these guys. He knows I'm a New Yorker, which automatically makes me a pizza snob. Scenarios is the best New York style pizza I have had in the area. Talk about quality and value. They also give a tremendous military discount. They're a small chain in the area, so check them out while you're locked down with COVID. All right, Chapter 5, titles. The reason they outline this is because it's important to have a common language across the force. Your supervisor, junior enlisted, frontline supervisor. They can't have that title unless they supervise the work of others and are at least a senior airman who've completed Airman Leadership School. Your NCOIC is an NCO or senior NCO in charge of a work center or element. Section chief oversees at least 2 subordinate work centers or elements. Your flight chief, obviously, your NCO or senior NCO, or the enlisted leader of a flight. Superintendent, this is a senior NCO in charge of squadron or wing level functions. Typically a chief, occasionally a senior or master sergeant at the squadron level or below. Only senior NCOs will hold the title of superintendent. Manager and chief. Now those two apply to staff level functions. So you don't see a lot of those around the base. All right, Chapter 6, Special Enlisted Positions. So this is where you have your Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, your command chiefs, your group soup, MAGCOM functional manager, things like that. What I like to highlight in this chapter is special duties, because this is where you get those broadening opportunities for staff sergeants through master sergeants, where they get to get out of their career field and do some leadership and mentorship stuff in important positions. That's why there's a nomination process and it's boarded. So there's 10 of them. Academy military training NCOs, so you remember those from your Air Force Academy squadrons. Airman dorm leader, Airman Family Readiness Center NCO, Air Force Honor Guard, Career Assistance Advisor. First Sergeant is one of these. MTI down at Lackland, Military Training Leader at tech schools, PME Instructor, and Recruiter. All right, Muley considerations. So we mentioned things like 5, 7, and 9 level as those correspond to degrees of technical proficiency in respective enlisted career fields. That model does not exactly translate to enlisted aviators, as they, like pilots, have ascending crew quals. So their career flow is a little different due to the nature of their jobs. At the Thursday Live discussion, we'll have the seniors shed a little light on special considerations for the crew. Okay, wrap up. Sit down with the seniors Thursday, 7 May at 10 local. Questions for you to think about. How do our tiers parallel the enlisted tiers? How are they similar? Do we measure up to enlisted responsibilities as officers? There's a lot of them out there, and how do we meet those? And where are our blind spots? Questions that you have about their career development. Just think about it. Generate some questions, especially if you're a supervisor of young enlisted troops. Think about some things you've been wondering about their career path. That's it for the week. I know this was quick and dirty. If you like, just look over that reg real quick. It's I think 30-something pages. It's not too bad. Check us out on YouTube if you missed any videos from last month, and please pass along any feedback you might have for us. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll talk to you later.